The more I read this, the more I lose faith in humanity.
Okay, hold that thought.
It's witchcraft.
Hey, it's 4:20 a.m. Hi, and welcome to episode 69, nice,
Woo!
of the Stoned Witches Hour. On this podcast, two best friends separated by way too many miles get together to tell each other spooky true tales from across the US of A, while smoking copious amounts of the greenest, crystalliest, stoniest weed that they can get their witchy little paws on. I'm your co-host, Layla.
I am your co-host, Chelle, and today we got some crazy shit for you. Episode 69.
Nice.
Wow.
Now, I know we had promised our listeners that we were going to find some very juicy, very titillating, very scary ghost stories, and I
I
forgot.
forgot.
You did too?
Yeah,
But I did find a couple interesting tidbits of ghost lore to share.
I got a weird, funny one to share that just makes you say, huh.
Well, let's start out with a little fact that I learned. Once I realized that the story I researched had nothing sexy and ghosty in common, I decided to look up. I just typed in ghost sexy. You would be amazed at what came up. And the first thing I learned was something called spectrophilia. And spectrophilia has two definitions. One is the attraction between humans and ghosts. The second is an attraction to objects seen in mirrors. Basically, it means that there are some people who are attracted enough to ghosts that they want to have sex with them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's so common, they have a name for it. Hey, Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, I think that shaped a lot of people's outlook in the 90s.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it. Is that weird?
Well, no, I guess it would depend on how sexy the ghost was.
Right?
Even Lucy Liu said that she had sex with a ghost.
Nuh-uh. Like,
Uh-huh.
like Charlie's Angels, Lucy Liu.
The very same. She also starred in one of my favorite shows called Elementary.
Elementary, my dear friend.
Elementary. But in 1999, she did an interview with Us Weekly. In it, she said that she had a sexual encounter with a ghost while she was trying to take a nap. She says, quote, "It was sheer bliss. I felt everything. I climaxed, and then he floated away. It was almost like what might have happened to Mary. That's how it felt. Something came down and touched me, and now it watches over me."
I have questions.
Me too.
Um, is that considered cheating?
Oh.
And sign me up.
I guess that's a good question. Like, is ghost sex cheating if you're in a relationship? Probably. I mean, sex is
Interesting.
sex, right? Sex outside of you. Unless it's the astral projection of your significant other, it's probably cheating.
Okay.
I don't know. I just made that rule up. I mean, unless you have, if you've talked to your partner about having ghostly sexual encounters ahead of time. Hey.
Cool. How do you ask your lover boy, hey, so there's this ghost? Okay, that is a different X-rated podcast.
There you go. But for the most part, I'm going to keep it G-rated because my actual story is in New York, but it's not sexy at all. So I have one more star that has had sex with a ghost.
Ho, 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 ho.
This one is a singer, and we haven't heard from her in a little while, but Kesha.
Oh, I love Kesha.
Let's see. Kesha says that she became a banger of ghosts in 2012, and she told Ryan Seacrest that her song Supernatural was inspired by, quote, having sexy time with a ghost.
Shit.
Right? She was on another show, this time on Conan, and she said during that interview that she went to, quote, the bone zone with a ghost. And then on Jimmy Kimmel Live, a year later, she said that her vagina was haunted.
What?
So yeah, it's like a threefer there with Kesha.
How is your vagina haunted?
Well, I don't know. If she has enough sex with a ghost that she wrote a song about it, you could probably say that it's
Which I
haunted.
am going to go listen to after this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, so hey, a haunted vagina, I've heard of worse things. They probably make a cream
Wow.
for that.
Now, much like you, it's so funny because we don't even plan this. This is what makes us awesome because we're like two peas in a pod. We really are. And we've always been two peas in a pod. I also forgot about the Grand 69.
Nice.
And I also actually have a story from New York.
Hey, wait a minute. How'd you manage that?
And I also, at the last minute, remembered the 69 and went to Google. But I Googled married a ghost. Oh, Lord. First of all, way too many selections, way too many people marrying ghosts.
Hold up, hold up. I'm lawfully allowed to marry people. I'm pretty sure it's in the handbook. You don't marry people to ghosts. Where is that legal? Like, how can they do that? Did I miss something?
Yeah,
I guess I did. So who married a ghost?
I have a new business for you. Okay.
Hey, I can expand my clientele now.
Right? Now, we usually stick to stories in America, but I could not pass this one up. Now, what I've got for you, this is nuts. Fucking nuts.
I love it.
I am way too high for this.
Oh, I need to be more high.
Woman who married a 300-year-old pirate ghost announces their marriage is over.
Oh, wait. She's not announcing the marriage. She's announcing their divorce?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Whole other lucrative business there.
How do you do that in court? Anyway, her name.
Like, how do you get them to show up? Do you have to bring like a medium to court with you? Be like, here, this is the medium that's representing my husband's ghost.
Oh, you laugh, but wait, you're not that far off.
Oh,
Okay, you know I can't pronounce anything. Her name, I believe, is Amanda Tigu. I could be saying that wrong. She married a Haitian pirate named Jack.
wait a minute.
Here is the thing with Amanda.
Okay.
45 years old, so it's not like we're talking about a kid here.
Mm-hmm.
Her job, she is a impersonator of Jack Sparrow in Northern Ireland.
Okay. I'm starting to sense a theme here.
Right. She is a Jack Sparrow impersonator who married a ghost named Jack, who is
Who's
a
a
pirate.
pirate? Right. Yeah, that's not weird at all. Not at
Right.
all. She married him and now she's divorcing him. Probably the sensible thing to do.
He is her second husband, and with her first husband, she had 5 kids. So, okay, I have kids. I've been divorced. If I went to my children and said, Mommy is going to marry a ghost, my kids, they'd probably slap me, and I would just sit there and let them.
Yeah.
But anywho,
We'd have to have a talk.
when she first told the Irish Mirror, which is a newspaper in Northern Ireland, when she first told him about the divorce, she said, I will explain all in due course, but for now, I want to say be very careful when dabbling in spirituality. It's not something to mess with.
Well, no shit.
Duh!
Right?
This is how it was legal, okay? The couple wed in a private ceremony. Who is
Okay.
coming to that? Well, I would go.
If any of our friends said they're marrying a ghost, I am so
I'm there.
Not performing that ceremony, but I'll go.
Private ceremony on a boat in international waters off the coast of Ireland. So because they went on international waters, that made it legal.
I see. I see.
What made it legal? Amanda hired a psychic medium for the ceremony that going through the psychic medium, that's how Jack was able to say, I do.
So she had a proxy, a medium stand in as proxy.
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Because Jack couldn't put on a ring, Amanda held a candle that the ring was placed on, and the candle symbolized Jack.
Alrighty.
I know our listeners can't see. I have to show you this. I have to share my screen. Like, look at this lady. Like, she looks put together,
The two of them look like an adorable couple, actually. These two ladies should totally get married.
right? But Jack is the red candle.
Okay. I mean, if I was going to have my husband represented by a candle, I would have gotten a bigger one. Just saying.
She doesn't look cray-cray.
Yeah, well,
Okay, maybe a little.
actually.
Yeah, okay. Now, their love story began, listen to this, 2014, after the ghost of a Haitian man visited her while she was lying in bed. And she soon learned that he was Jack, an 18th century pirate who had been left at the altar before he was executed for thievery,
That sounds like a shitty day.
right? She interacted with the ghost over the course of a few months and began to develop feelings.
Oh, so this wasn't like they just met each other and got married that same day. There was an actual ghostly courtship.
She says there was about 6 months of communication. She says they spent a lot of time together.
Is that code?
Even her herself was horrified to discover that she had romantic feelings for him, having never heard of that before. Eventually, the relationship turned sexual.
Oh, really? How did she know? Well, I guess Lucy Liu on the couch knew, so.
She had to give him an ultimatum. Growing up in Ireland, she was taught if a man bedded you, he had to wed you. So
When did she grow up? The 18 fucking hundreds?
right? Yeah, no, that was when he grew up. So she researched spiritual marriage, found out it was a thing, and she asked him to marry her.
Did he say no at first and make her prove her love because he'd been left at the altar before?
No,
Oh.
no.
Well, it could have been a Lifetime movie if he did.
And she told People magazine that she doesn't understand why people pick on her. So she said the reason she's coming out about it and has been is because she wants to encourage others not to feel alone if they are in a spiritual relationship.
Did she say why they're divorcing?
No,
Yeah, if they're so much in love and they have this marriage that others should emulate, why are they getting divorced?
but she wants people to know not all ghosts are like in the horror films, and some of them can be loving and caring spirits. She said, you just need to know what you're doing. What the holy
Okay.
hell? What the holy hell? Like, I'm a fuck around and find out kind of girl, but like, I ain't marrying a ghost,
Maybe she has the psychic come over as a stand-in. It sounds like a porno.
right? I mean, how do you? I have no words.
No, me either. That's strange. I would have loved to have been invited to that wedding, though. To be honest, I would totally watch that wedding.
Does she hold hands with the medium? Does she caress the candle?
Does she get upset when he doesn't show up? Does she mistake random cold spots in the house for him? I mean, really, how does this work? I have questions.
She admitted that she pays all the bills. Really?
Does anybody get spousal support here? And
Right?
how do they get paid if so?
I mean, I know I'm high, but I'm stumped on people right now.
That's just wild. Hey, as long as she's happy. Well, no, apparently they're not happy. They got divorced. So I feel bad.
Maybe the sex wasn't as good as it used to be.
Well, hey, she didn't say if I got good bedded, then I get wedded. She just said if I get bedded, good or
Right?
bad, I guess.
Now that we've done our last minute 69 stories, we're gonna go back to how we usually start the fun here. We're both obviously rip roaring high. Talk to me, woman. What you smoking tonight?
Oh, wow. I went to someplace new.
Ooh, always fun.
I went to Moonwalkers,
Ooh,
another delivery place, and I got two new kinds of weed. We got some citrus diesel
ooh.
for 125 an ounce,
You know I love diesel, and you know I love anything citrus,
right? And I love anything cheap.
right?
And then we got some powdered runts that are super extra expensive. I believe it was 45 an eighth.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I love the packaging. Check this shit out. Ha, I am holding up an old school baggie.
Oh my God, that's so OG.
Thank you. Thank you. They did not package it in a huge, super heavy duty, gorgeously nice gift bag that they've written all over so you can't even reuse the fucker. And then packed in glass jar after glass jar and then fluffy paper insert decorative things and a stack of stickers. I'm so over the fucking stickers. People, dispensaries.
Put it on the counter. If I want one, I'll take it.
Thank you. And if you're doing a delivery, the first time you deliver to me, fine. Wrap it up like a present. Woohoo, great. Looks awesome. Otherwise, save that money
And just give me
a
my fucking
free
weed.
pre-roll. Yeah, give me the weed in a baggie and a brown paper bag.
Right?
The more recyclable and the smaller, the better. I do not want your glass jars with your fancy labeling on it. I do not want 5 of your stickers every fucking time I get a delivery. And I do not want all the packaging. Keep it fucking simple.
I have a really quick, funny story about the
Oh,
glass
good,
jar.
because I'm about to get on a rant and I don't want to, so go
No.
for it.
You are gonna. This is like the best recycle ever. Okay, you know how we have talked about Happy Valley, the big fat glass jars, and they're so
Yeah.
environmentally shit, even though we love Happy Valley, but their
Yes.
packaging fucking blows.
Most
You
places
know,
packaging fucking blows.
you might not be aware of this, but within the last week, here in the grand old land of the outskirts of Boston, we had either 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row of Taylor Swift concerts.
Lucky Boston.
First of all, there was a dad who paid $21,000 for a ticket for his daughter. Different podcast, but Jesus, I need to live that life,
Holy Jesus, I wish I
right?
had the money to. I can't even. I got medical bills, people. 21,000 on a ticket? Damn.
You know what I told people at my day job? I looked at them, I go, listen, I don't love my kids that much. And my kids, at least one of my kids, listens to our podcast. So to my lovely son, I love you so much, but I will never spend $21,000 on you for a concert ticket. Never. Don't ask me. We have had like a drought in Massachusetts for like a year and a half. Friday and Saturday, the sky opened and it was like Niagara goddamn Falls. Okay.
Blessings because Taylor was in the area.
Gillette Stadium is outdoors.
Oh, wow.
God bless her. She just kept on going and let herself get soaked. Do you know there's motherfuckers out there right now? They took Happy Valley jars, filled them with rainwater, and are selling them on the internet for $250 if you want to buy rainwater from Gillette Stadium in the Taylor Swift concert.
That's some entrepreneurship right there. Impressive. Why aren't you filling some of your jars and selling them?
Right?
There's a tap right there, Shell.
I mean, I am appalled, A, that someone did it, B, that people will actually buy it.
And C, that you threw away your jars and aren't doing it yourself.
Right, true. But I thought you would appreciate it because even someone online commented on the posting and they were like, hey, those are Happy Valley jars.
That's fantastic.
That's a good recycle for you. So for me, I am on my last eighth of this midnight.
Oh, you said that tasted good and it had a good stone, right?
Right, but too much of it and you might as well call it a night. You're done. This is I don't want to say it's like the downer weed, but this is what you want to smoke when you're gearing up for bedtime.
Right.
This is not a clean the house, have fun. This is like relax weed. You know
Nice.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Real good, but it doesn't make you super chatty or, that uppity. It's more of a downy.
I could tell you're stoned, but you kind of have this very quiet Zen mama energy.
But here's the thing. I've been doing a lot of walking the last 2 or 3 weeks, and my back has like flared like a mofo. As much as it makes you tired, this strain is like miracle medicine. I mean, I'm not saying my back doesn't hurt, but not like it did earlier in the day before I smoked.
So that you're saying the midnight has not only like a help you go to sleep effect, but it also is a good analgesic. It's good for your lower back pain that you've had since an accident since you were a teenager.
But you know what's funny?
What's that?
It has CBCA 0.30, but under CBD, it says 0. But yet, I am telling you with my own words, it is making me feel better. When I got home from my day job today, I could barely stand up straight and was having a hard time walking. And, I smoked a few. Okay, I smoked a bunch. I am able to get up and walk around and do what I got to do. But according to the label, it has no CBD.
The Leafly page on it says that Midnight is a sativa dominant strain that's high in CBD and it controls pain, inflammation, and indigestion. It's known to be for pain.
So you're telling me not to trust my label?
I don't know. Again, I'm saying what Leafly has as the information for Midnight could very well be an entirely different strain from what you have. The only
Right.
correlation is the name and that the Leafly strain says that it's good for pain. So that seems to be the only correlation. What I'm thinking might be going on with yours is the terpenes, because there are terpenes that help with inflammation and with pain.
I thought the terpene was the flavor.
They are. Terpenes are little chemicals and they not only affect flavor, but they can also affect you. It can make the stone stonier. It can help with inflammation. They have a huge part to do with the overall effects of the cannabis. And the terpenes for pain and inflammation, there's 6 of them that are good for it. The 4 popular ones are myrcene, pinene, linalool, and limonene. And I know you love limonene and linalool.
Oh, hell yeah.
So the pinene and the myrcene are the ones that you tend to want to stay away from because they have more of that piney taste that you don't like.
Right. I mean, I know different people have different physical ailments, but for me and my personal back issue, I would rather be very chill and kind of ready for bed at any time and have it take that pain away than be uppity and happy and not able to walk out into my kitchen.
Right. So if you're taking it for pain relief, CBDs definitely help, but it's not the only thing. Look for those terpenes, the myrcene, pinene, linalool, and limonene. There's also caraphyllene and humulene.
And as you know, probably our listeners don't, but you know this, I am not a traditional medicine taker. Although if I'm really sick, you might catch me taking some NyQuil, but that's about it. I don't even take Tylenol, aspirin. No. So I don't take any sort of pain pills for my back. All I do is smoke big
Cannabis.
fatties.
Yeah.
Right. And it's been working for me.
Yeah. Why change what works, right? And when you find a cultivar that works, you gotta stick with it.
You know, you always hear about these people who the doctors get them addicted to codeine or the doctors get them addicted to perks. No, I'd rather soothe my pain with a fat bowl, my silicone bowl with a
I love your
top.
silicone bowl. Hey, they're saying all over the country that the places where they legalize or make it legal for medical, they're seeing a lot less demand for things like pain medications and
Right.
alcohol and so it's making things better in a lot of areas. But so while we enjoy our weed and this powdered runt is living up to its name, it's all so crystally, it's almost white. I got to show you some of this.
Ooh.
Oh, and it smells so flippin' good. It's
Oh my
super
God, I
light.
want to lick it.
Right? It's so light and crystally, it's gorgeous.
I love that weed that you just wish you could lick because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty and crystally.
Yeah. But while I smoke on this, I want to tell you a little bit about where I'm at. So I'm in Troy, New York. Where in New York are you today for your spooky story?
I am actually in a favorite place of mine. I love the Thousand Islands region. It owns my heart. And we are going to the Thousand Islands region and most specifically Mexico, New York. And yes, if you didn't know there was a
Ooh.
Mexico in New York, there is.
Now you do. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm going to a house, a particular haunted house in Troy, New York, that is called the Enslin House.
Ooh.
And it is haunted by no less than 9 spirits,
Ooh.
and it has a portal.
A portal to where? Hell?
They're not exactly sure. It's more of like, it's one of those portals that seems to allow spirits to come in and out. So not really a portal to hell, but more of a portal to the other side.
And the worst part about how you just explained that is going back to my whole fuck around and find out personality. I want to go and step in the portal. Where are we going? We going to the fairyland? Are we going to Avalon? Where the hell are we going? If we're going to hell, at least I'll be serving martinis.
And it'll be warm, and you don't like it to be cold.
I hate the cold.
Get this, Shell. Not only can you stay here because it's currently an Airbnb, it's for sale.
Oh shit. We need to pool our money, woman. All right, how do we get a Patreon going so that we can buy this?
Right? We need to buy this and then have all sorts of haunted experiences there and seances and tarot parties. Oh, it would be absolutely glorious. But it was originally for sale for $444,444.
Okay, tell me why, because obviously there's a reason for that.
It's an angel number, and I believe it has something to do with success. But we're 4 people.
Of
And
course it's success. It's my birth number.
right? Both of us have the birth number of 4, and it was $444,444. So I thought it was perfect for us. And it's come down a little since then, so even better. But
Ooh.
so this house is at 562 Fifth Avenue in Troy, New York. So if you want to look it up on Zillow, I'll put a link in the show notes to make it easy for you.
And Troy, fun fact, is on the edge of the Adirondack Mountains.
Yes, it is. Very, very near to Massachusetts.
And beautiful. If you like trees, Beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Historic Troy, I guess, is a very pretty small town. And it's also very near to where the Headless Horseman roams.
Now, what year was the house built?
I've seen two different things. One, I've seen it was built in 1890, and I've also seen that it was built in 1919. So I'm not exactly sure. What does Zillow say? One second.
They have to tell you the truth on Zillow.
1890. Zillow says 1890. The current owner, her family has owned it since 1919 when her grandfather purchased the building and renovated it. And they had come from Bavaria.
I wish my family bought some badass house and passed it down through 90 generations, and then I was like the 91st generation to live with all my ancestral ghosts.
Right? So her grandfather, Frederick Fayle, purchased the building in 1919, and he was very wealthy in the area, and he frequently had supper club meetings. So
Oh,
he would
what?
have, I guess, kind of like fancy upscale bar and dinner,
Ah, I gotcha. Rich people stuff.
rich people stuff. At the time, he even hosted an infamous bootlegger, a mobster of the Hudson Valley named Legs Diamond.
And in that era, he probably did seances and had Ouija boards.
More than likely, it was pretty popular at that time. And Legs Diamond was, again, a notorious mobster who also died in the capital region, which is right in the same area, while awaiting to go on trial in Troy, New York. So he was often in the house, and it's said that his ghost is seen there frequently. She says there's about 9 ghosts in the house, 3 men in the basement, her grandfather, and her son, who unfortunately passed away at 18 of cancer.
Is she related to all of them, or are the three people in the basement just randos?
There are a lot of randos. She's related to several people in the house, but not all of them.
Well, you can't be spooked by that. They're just your relatives.
She does say that none of the ghosts in the house are malicious. Even the gangster that comes through is pretty tame. However, all right, so let me tell the whole story. So it's owned by a woman named Michelle Bell, and it was her grandfather that came in 1919 and redid the whole house and moved his family in. That's the grandfather she says is still there. Michelle says that there was a woman named Shirley living on the second floor at the time when Michelle's mother was living on the first floor and her health was failing. For some reason, Shirley came home from work on a Friday night, and instead of going to her second floor apartment, for some reason, she went to the basement door that's located on the first floor. And for whatever reason, she was either pushed or fell and died at the bottom of the steps in the basement.
I bet you pushed.
That's what the family thinks, and they don't know why she was there. There was absolutely no reason for her to go in the basement. So they're not really sure why she was even on the first floor or trying to get into the basement. And they've actually had seances in the house and have tried to speak to Shirley to find out what happened. They've had a couple films that were done there in the basement and the attic and had paranormal investigations through the whole house. So they see quite a few different things, including the woman Shirley in the basement. A paranormal group called Unrefined out of Albany, New York, came to the Enslin House this year, actually, and went through the whole thing with Michelle.
Uh-huh. What'd they find?
They went down into the basement and tried to talk to Shirley. They used a spirit box to try and get answers from her, and they actually caught quite a few EVPs. They were in the basement, and one of the first questions they asked was if Shirley was present with them. And you can hear a female voice say, "You betcha."
Oh, wow.
And then one of the other EVPs they got was when they asked her what her last name was. And she replied, Russell. I don't know if that was confirmed or not by Michelle. They asked Shirley who pushed her. And she said, steps.
Maybe she tripped on the steps.
That's kind of how I thought of it too. But several people, several other psychics that have been there, they do feel that she was pushed. And one psychic even said she felt that Shirley was pulled. Which, I don't know, kind of lends to me again that she fell. But they did get quite a few EVPs from a woman's voice in the basement, and she's a commonly seen ghost there. The basement is so haunted, and people get such an eerie feeling when they go down into it, that Michelle keeps it locked and doesn't usually allow anyone in there.
Oh, wow.
It's an Airbnb, so you can stay there. And one guest that stayed there said that he woke up in the middle of the night and next to him in the bed was an indentation as if someone was sleeping there, and it was warm.
Oh,
So,
weird. That's
right?
weird.
And of course, there's the usual poltergeist activity of items moving around the house. People will leave something on a table and it'll show up in a different room. Michelle says that there is a portal in the basement And it's the basement itself is filled with ghosts. People that live in the house often can't leave, including, again, her son, who unfortunately passed away, Nikki, her grandfather, her mother. She says that when her mother was passing in the house, an orb came through the room, like shot through the bedroom, and then came to Michelle and like hovered over her heart. And she knew that it was her son's spirit coming to help usher her mother to the other side.
Oh, wow. I mean, to me, that would be super cool, but to a normal person, I am not normal. We've established that like 68 episodes ago. That could be freaky, but I had kind of a almost similar experience and it kind of made it easier. Obviously you've been there through everything. I don't know if you remember when my aunt died, might have been around 2004, and I had to make a trip to Washington, D.C. And myself, my father, and my stepmother were in a hotel room. I'm a bad girl. I'm a little on the smoky. And, even though I was an adult, I was still with my dad. Like, I ain't gonna smoke. I don't even smoke cigarettes in front of my dad, okay?
Right? No,
And
he's scary.
and I'm starting to get shit from freaking AARP, and I still won't smoke in front of my dad. I would be like, oh, I'm going to go out in the parking lot and call and check on the kids. I mean, I did. Don't get me wrong. I did call and check on my kids while smoking a cigarette. Ha ha ha. And some weed. Ha ha ha. I remember I was sitting at this hotel. They had like a swing bench and it was right next to a little creek. And, my aunt died unexpectedly. She was not ill. She just out of the blue actually had a brain aneurysm. So it was kind of tragic and unexpected. And I just remember crying on that bench. There was a moment where I felt like, and we've talked about my grandpa. He is the reason I can't sleep with my feet uncovered. Thanks.
Yeah, his ghost likes to sit next to you or on you.
Right? In bed. Come on, don't be so creepy. But I felt like as I was on this bench next to the creek, I felt like my grandpa sat down on one side of me and my aunt sat down on the other side. As you are aware, I've had multiple interactions with my grandfather over the years, who passed away when I was 10. Actually, I think you've seen my grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
And him being there when her spirit sat on that bench when I was down for her funeral, I kind of felt like, okay, you're with grandpa now. And I've had a lot of interaction with grandpa in the years since he's died. So it almost seemed more okay.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like they both were telling me it's okay.
I love when they come back and do that.
I mean, obviously, because of the type of spiritual shit I'm into, I am prone to have those interactions. So, I almost half expected my aunt, but I didn't expect my grandpa. And it kind of was
Like a hug, like a ghosty hug.
yeah, kind of like, don't cry. We know you're upset, but it's okay.
I
And I'll
love
never
that.
forget being on that bench just swinging. And it felt like he sat down on one side and her on the other side.
That's a beautiful memory.
It is.
And I think most of the memories here for Michelle are beautiful as well, except for the odd ghost in the basement and whatever it was that caused Shirley to fall to her death. And part of the reason she used fours, all fours, is she said it's the angelic number for protection. So that's why she made the selling price all fours. And she had originally said she wasn't going to change the price.
What
But I
is it
guess
now?
now it's 350,000.
We can do it.
We could do that.
Feel free to donate to Layla and Chelle buying a haunted house in upstate New York,
And then you could come visit us for tarot readings and ghost hunts,
right? Hey, we might even let you put up a tent in the backyard.
right? But she says that in the basement there's this portal. She says it's like a portal or a doorway to another dimension. And she feels that it's thought to provide access for entities to enter our world, and that it could be spirits of people who have lived there before, or they could be something else altogether. And she says that some researchers believe they could be otherworldly beings from another dimension. She's had ghosts photographed there, orbs photographed there. People see shadow people in the house and in the yard. And she says, although most of the ghosts are friendly, she says they do react strongly to people that they don't like. If they don't like you, as you go through the house, people will feel pushed or shoved and sometimes even like pinched. And she did have an offer for that $444,444 price tag
What?
back when she first put it up for sale.
Why didn't that pan out?
Well, it looks like the couple were on their way down the steps into the basement, and the husband got pushed off the stairs.
Like, Shirley,
They had actually put in an offer, been accepted, and were about to buy the house and close on it when this happened. And because of the haunting, they backed out. And did you know, Shell, that in New York State, if you buy a house that's haunted,
they have to tell you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I do know that. Full disclosure, I did know that.
there was a court case in 1991, Stambovsky versus Ackley, also called the Ghostbuster ruling, because there was a house in Nyack that was up for sale. A person from New York City was going to buy it, but they didn't know that there were poltergeists on the property. Once they found out, they wanted to rescind the offer. They were told they had to legally go through with buying the house. So they took them to court and said they shouldn't have to buy the house because it was haunted with poltergeists. And they won. So there is the Ghostbusters ruling if you ever try to buy a house in New York, and that's how they backed out. So the husband, I guess, was the ghosts were not fond of him and they pushed him off the stairs. So he backed out of the house under the Ghostbusters ruling in New York State.
I just got to put in here that on the list of bullshit things about New York State, this has to go on the only in your state, New York.
I
I
think other
mean,
states have something, like you said, a lot of times they do have to disclose if a house is haunted in
but
most
I
states,
have
I
bought
think.
I have bought and sold a house in New York, and yeah, like when I bought my house, oh, by the way, we just want to let you know there's no spiritual activity here. And I'm like, damn. And by the way, I'd also like to point out they lied. I wasn't the only person living in my house, just saying. When I sold my house, I had to sign an affidavit and I put that it was.
Awesome. Yeah, because you had experienced it, so you might as well tell the truth.
My children, my adult children now, will even back me up on the fact that there are some early 1900s children and a kind of angry lady in the kitchen with long dark hair.
Wow. It sounds like Michelle had kind of grew up in this house and she experienced spirits her whole life in this house.
Yeah, but even her parents grew up there and her grandparents and
Exactly.
great grandparents.
Apparently, with some of this access to spirits and with being with her mother who passed and her son, unfortunately, who also passed, she has become a death shaman, a death warrior, or a death doula.
Oh, wow. How cool.
So she helps people through that process, which is an absolutely amazing thing. I
And
mean,
can be a blessing for
it
people.
can be. She is also a playwright. She's written a screenplay called A Son's Gift that won quite a few awards. And she actually is having an event at the house.
Oh my God, back to two peas in a pod. My haunted house is opening for the first time since before the Rona tonight.
So May 26th and 27th, she's having Laura Sheldrick, an emotion code expert, come and speak at the house. So they're going to talk about energy healing and emotional wellness. But she also does, tarot events and paranormal events at the house. She had the Ha sisters there
Wow.
and several other.
So if she lives there, you can't do like an overnight.
No, she's not there now, and the house is still available as an Airbnb.
Oh hell yeah.
But while her mother was living in the house, they had caregivers come in. But she says they had 13 caregivers because after a while, the poltergeist activity and the ghost activity that they would experience, they couldn't stay. In particular, usually on the first night that they had to stay over, they would get so spooked by the different things that would happen that they would have to leave.
13 shores down to the power number four. Just saying, just saying,
I didn't even think of that.
right?
But the attic is also creepy. There's orbs everywhere. There's three men that are unaccounted for that are usually in the basement, but people have also reported seeing shadows of three men in the backyard. So I'm not sure who they are, but maybe they're related to the gangster Legs Diamond.
Right.
So I don't know. But again, 9 spirits in this house, and the activity is everywhere.
I want to
So
go to the portal.
I want to check out the basement as well. So you can stay there. It is on Airbnb. You can do ghost hunts there. She does have quite a few different events there as well that she advertises on the Facebook page. And we should stay there, Shal. It's not too far from you.
Now, a spiritual tip for all of our listeners who are into the witchy wilderness stuff. If you encounter a portal and you want to walk through it, I'm all for fuck around and find out, but make sure you tie yourself to the real world. Don't forget that piece. Don't
That's a good
forget that
idea.
piece. I would do that and walk through the portal, fuck around and find out, but I would not do it without tying myself to this reality.
There you go.
There's my witchy tip for the day.
So, what kind of story have you got for me? Because I am about to get into this powdered runts, and I know I'm not going to be able to maintain a storyline.
Couple things with my story. Actually, weird. First of all, I got intrigued by this by a Facebook post.
Interesting. People still go on Facebook?
People our age do.
Oh.
You don't, but other people our age do. I am on, even though I'm not living in New York at the time, I still follow, I think it's like Haunted History Trails of New York is the page. They do cool haunted stuff all over New York, do, Facebook posts, blah, blah, blah. I came across this and I, first of all, was intrigued because, I am a sucker for a castle. And
Absolutely.
a haunted one, bring it.
Even better.
I have spent my whole childhood every summer, well into my adulthood, and I'm actually going there in July in the Thousand Islands region. It's like
That's
my
your
second
happy
home.
place.
It is my happy place. And this is from Mexico, New York, which is considered in the Thousand Islands region. Mexico, New York is on the shores of Lake Ontario. I would basically say it's pretty much near Watertown, New York, to give you a frame of reference.
Okay.
This place is called Casey's Cottage,
Oh, okay. So a cottage, a little one.
but it's not really like a cottage per se. It's like, you'd think it was like a shack.
Now, a lot of these houses we talk about are like the grand old mansions, big houses. Most of these haunted places tend to be bigger houses. You're
No,
telling me
not
this is a
this.
shack? Oh, okay, that's no shack. That's big.
But still like log cabin like.
Yeah, very rustic log cabin looking, shack looking, but it's very large.
Well done.
Oh, wow.
Carvings on the wood on the inside walls, weird stained glass. They even have a freaking
They have a
suit of
suit of
armor.
armor.
From the outside, you're kind of like, huh, things that make you go, huh,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
very eclectic looking, almost like church looking windows, the suit of armor in the front entryway.
but like half barn, half hunting lodge,
Yeah,
outdoor fireplace.
outdoor weird carved statues.
Now, it's a carved statue of a one-handed boxer.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that, but okay, here we are. And then they have a carving of
Very dour looking maid with a serving tray.
an apron.
She looks pissed.
Yeah. She looks like a grandma,
She looks so fed up.
right? Very weird. You can see, I know our listeners can't see, but Google it. It's very interesting.
I love those little bed nooks with the curtains and like you
Oh,
close the
yeah.
curtains in your little beds, like your own private little area. I love that.
From some angles, it almost has that towery looking look to it.
Yeah, it's quite large. It's like three
So,
stories on one side. What's with the medieval influence?
okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. This place was Orville Hungerford's elegant Mexico Point clubhouse built in 1906.
Okay.
Lush lawns.
Yeah, like a really rustic boys club. Sure, I could see that.
All I can think of is like a sleepover golf country club.
Yeah, kind of looks that way. Like a rustic medieval cabin club place.
Now, it wasn't like really medievally then in 1906. That didn't come about until later on. So we'll get to that in a minute. Guests were met at the train station in Mexico, which is funny because my father, as a kid, used to take the train from my hometown to Mexico. But they were picked up at the train station and brought to the clubhouse by horse-drawn carriage. No cars back then. What they did was after cars were invented, they took the carriage house because obviously with horse-drawn carriages, they need a place to store the horses and the
Yeah.
carriages when they're not. Once automobiles came, not necessary for that. they turned the carriage house into a medieval manor house known as Casey's Cottage. So Dr. William Casey and his close friend Severin Bischoff decided that they were going to do this conversion to a medieval manor house. They say it was a work of love. It was like a place of beauty, friendship, companionship, good conversation.
Oh, so they turned the carriage house into a clubhouse.
No, they took their little clique from the clubhouse and made like a clique clubhouse.
In the carriage house?
So there's still the big clubhouse, but now there's like a more elite clubhouse in this cottage that used to be the carriage house. They were too cool for the bigger group and created an offshoot, smaller,
So
tighter
their
group.
little private clubhouse
Right. That
for the
not all
cooler
the other,
kids.
right, the cooler kids. So they would do like parties and like they would have back then they still had some vaudeville entertainers. They would bring in like vaudeville entertainers and stuff. So they kind of made it like a friend hangout for a small group of friends. Well, then it became property of the Mexico Point State Park. So actually it is, and I believe it is still now. Yeah, it is under the ownership of New York State at this point.
Part of the state park?
Right.
Probably means you can't stay there now.
Well, they do stuff. You can rent it. We should rent it.
We should rent it.
You know, they say that they'll rent it out to businesses, clubs, organizations that want meetings, rehearsal dinners for weddings, small weddings, showers, family gatherings. I want to go rent it for the day just for the sake of.
Yeah.
Like for real. But they do some spooky tours because let's get to the spooky part of this. We talked about early 1900s when it was built, and we talked about present day where it is owned by New York State Parks.
Uh-huh.
The in between, the good stuff, the meat and potatoes here.
What happened?
So it gets renovated. That place gets renovated to the medieval style manor, and this guy, Dr. William Casey, was obsessed with 11th century England.
Okay.
Why the 11th? Who knows? That's where coat of armor.
Oh, that's where all the decor comes from, was his 11th century obsession.
Right, because
Okay.
he was trying to like convert it into like an 11th century half wood, half stone castle.
Okay. Kind of got that look down.
Him and his Severin friend, I don't know. I'm not judging, but probably back in the day, they were probably romantically involved, but society wasn't down with that. So they were best friends.
I hear ya.
They lived there, would hold these parties like lovers do. Unfortunately, Mr. Casey, Dr. Casey, died in 1978.
Aw.
A lot of these parties were like in the mid to late 60s and then early to mid 70s. So imagine that type of party atmosphere in this kind of like an 11th century.
And that is quite a large building. They could have had a lot of people there for the parties.
I mean, was Elton John there? Like Freddie
Right?
Mercury? That's what I'm
Was
thinking.
Hugh Hefner?
Right. So he dies. And I don't know whatever happened to Severin, but the cottage stood abandoned for many years after 1978 when he died. New York State took it over, and that's when it was renovated and open to the public. But unfortunately, during the time it was abandoned, you know how people are. They would break into it, be bad people. But then people would go in there because they were hearing rumors that when the people that would go in and vandalize, things would move. They'd hear things.
Oh.
Apparently, they wouldn't say who they are because they were a douchebag vandal. They were going in to spray paint the inside of the house, and they claim that the couch was moved from one side of the room to the other.
Oh, no
And
shit.
and this person insisted that they were the only person there and alone.
Damn. That would be scary.
Word on the street, you know, upstate New York, everybody knows everybody. And if you know it, everybody knows it. So word on the street started that this abandoned house is haunted. So then people were going into it for the sake of, I'm going to go break into the abandoned house and see what I see.
Well, at least they're not vandalizing anymore.
right? They experience cold spots, a feeling, uneasy feeling of being watched. Now, my opinion is there are two feelings of being watched. One is like, hey, somebody's looking at you, and one like, ghosty stalker.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were probably the most common, but some have heard faint sounds of organ music because, probably in the late 60s, early 70s, that's like when those electronic organs, keyboard things were coming
Oh,
out.
yeah, sure. Probably pretty popular. I'm sure there was all sorts of music being played there. Rowdy 70s party.
Now, your favorite thing in all the world,
Orbs.
orbs.
Hell yes.
Now, they say that in the main area that they see white and light blue orbs.
Ooh.
But when they go down into a very deep, dark corner of the basement, that the orbs are more red and orange.
Interesting.
I don't know enough about orbs. I thought they were all white.
I'm wondering if there's like a an emotional tinge to this, like the lighter colors like white and blue indicate more of a peaceful energy.
And red is angry.
Yeah, red and orange is angry or a stronger energy. I'm not sure.
The whole disembodied voice is heard. People report feelings as though someone was physically touching them. They have seen apparitions of a young woman. Not only have they seen her, but they have heard her crying for help. She is allegedly the spirit of a lady that was buried under a tree. Like I said, this is right on Lake Ontario. So she was buried under a tree near the lake, which is technically on the property of this place.
Oh, wow.
I don't get this. They talked about fast moving apparitions. What are there slow ones, medium ones, and fast ones? I didn't realize there was fast moving ones. They explain it as they've seen some apparitions darting across the cottage. Like I said, furniture moving on its own. And then, I don't know, there's got to be some fey activity because things like keys and stuff like that just like will mysteriously be gone and then will turn up in places that those people know 110%. There's no way I could have put it there.
I've stayed in houses that have very similar activity. So yeah, but it's really weird when it happens.
They say this would freak me out because in my mind it's a physical danger. They have had cases where candles just jump off the shelf.
Oh, wow.
Now that is not cool.
No, no,
Not
that
cool. Um, they have had sightings of a young girl. Um, they're not sure if she was someone who was on the property around the time it was built, because it seems like the people who owned it were single men who like to party. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Sounds like it was definitely a party house.
I never could find the story about the woman buried under the tree or the girl buried under the tree. I don't know where she came from or who she was. I think that the fact that there's a couple women on the property, but yet only men have lived there,
That's weird.
I don't know. The thing about this house is they've done ghost hunts here. They've had a medium come in. All of the ghosts don't want people there. Every one of them had the get out now.
No way. I'm sorry, but if a ghost clearly says get out now, unless I was sent there specifically to cleanse the house, I'm probably going to get the fuck out.
They had hired a medium. This medium had come from Watertown, which is the closest big city. And through the medium, they basically said, this is our house. You are not welcome here, and you need to leave.
Damn.
The medium had expressed that the reason the house had stayed abandoned all that time is because that's what they wanted.
The ghost didn't want anyone there.
They don't even want visitors, apparently. This is our house, closed for business. So,
Still, are people still getting that kind of message?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I told you that you can rent it out for small wedding, rehearsal dinners, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. We're going to rent it and go check it out, right?
They do ghost hunts and guided tours, but it is limited to 6 people a group, and it
Ooh.
is available by reservation and appointment only. The bummer is their website will not tell you how much. You have to basically call to inquire.
I see.
But they're not going to charge you $1,000 to walk through and hear their stories, but it could be 40, $50. Who knows? No overnight though. And that is where I'm
That
kind of almost
sucks.
half disappointed. And that's why you win this week because your place you can do overnight.
Yeah, the Enslin House has overnights. You can rent it or buy it.
And I just want to point out if you're going to a haunted place where the ghosts don't want you there, if you're getting married there, first, as soon as you're done getting married, hire a divorce lawyer. And then, second, don't complain when I say I told you so.
Exactly. Yeah, so I definitely win because you can stay there and have a lot of fun.
Disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed you can't stay overnight. I mean, those little bed nooks look fun, and we all know that the witching hour is when all this stuff comes out. I mean, come on,
This shit ain't happening at 2 in the afternoon.
right? It's 3 a.m., 4 a.m. when you're going to get your really good paranormal activity.
And I want to know, which is why I want to be there overnight, why don't they want anybody there?
Whose ghost is it that's like, get the fuck out, everybody?
That's the thing. It's like I never found any like trauma stories. Here was a thought I had though. I had watched a YouTube video on the place because a lot of the New York State parks that have historic buildings and stuff, New York State has like a caretaker person. So I had found a YouTube video about this place and they interviewed like the caretaker lady. She just thinks that this is all hooey.
What? The caretaker doesn't believe any of it?
You know how there's people that even when they see it, they don't believe it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to make assumptions here and I'm not judging. If I had to guess and put money on what maybe religious persuasion she is, I would definitely not put her as a spiritually inclined person.
Okay. Yeah, some people are so close-minded that they will have a logical explanation even when there is no logical explanation to be had.
I did read a review online where they felt like when they paid for the guided tour that she was begrudgingly almost reading from a script.
Oh no. And if she's going to be the one that takes us on the ghost tour, I wouldn't want to do it because that kind of negative energy in some places can be enough to completely throw things
Make it
off.
worse.
Yeah.
But the thought I had, going back to the thought I had, I didn't find any, nobody got shot, nobody jumped out the second floor window, there was like no trauma stories.
Nobody's asked them who they are. Nobody's gotten, it sounds like they've gotten some pretty good connection with the spirits there, enough to be like told forcefully, get out and we don't want you here. Did they get any kind of name or any feeling or indication of who they could be?
Here's the bitch of it. When you are dealing with an owner or a caretaker or, the main person you're dealing with, and they think it's a crock of shit to begin with, you can only do so much because you're like fighting the current. You're fighting
That's
the
very
current, you
true.
know what I mean? So maybe they're just like, yeah, it's haunted, blah, blah, blah. Okay, gotta go, you asshole. I wonder if there was a different employee there. And here's the other thing, maybe they don't like her. Maybe the spirits don't like her, so they don't want anybody there.
Yeah, maybe they don't like the caretaker. Maybe it's not the visitors. Maybe it's just the caretaker they don't like.
I'm wondering if New York State hired a new individual for that particular post, if maybe some of the experiences would be different.
I imagine, if you had somebody there that was more in tune with those energies and was more receptive to that, it very well could have a beneficial effect for the ghost hunting tours that go through.
Hey, I got a great idea. I got a son in his mid 20s who would be down with that. New York State, hire my kid, and he will be the caretaker of Casey's cottage.
I'd almost be tempted to go and be like, hey, we want to hire it for a reception for the day, and then just go in and do our own investigation without
Right,
having a guided tour.
right. So I am disappointed because I feel like there could be potentially a lot more positive ghosty activity at this location, but they're being repressed by the human that is running the place.
Very well could be. Interesting. Well, two very interesting houses today in New York State. There's so many haunted places all across the area.
I still can't believe that we both picked New York and didn't even know it. Because if people have forgotten, like Layla and I do not tell each other what we're gonna do ahead of time. We just get on Zoom and off we go. We're like, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. So like we don't plan this and it works out cosmically.
And this Enslin House did not come from my list, actually. This popped up as I was kind of searching around looking for something to do for this week. I got intrigued by the different stories that were here, people who have stayed there all having eerie experiences. And so I started looking into it. I didn't have any clue that it was in New York State when I first started looking. It's just kind of fun.
Mine came from late night Facebook scrolling, but what caught my eye was how it looked and the fact that it was a haunted New York State park,
Yeah, and it's right near one of your favorite places. So how could you go wrong there?
which I'm going there soon. And I was like, hey, maybe I could stop by.
Our haunted tour of America is getting pretty long, Shell. We should really get that RV or that schoolie and start our trip.
Now, we talked about some sexy ghosts, some weird. I really think everybody out there, do yourself a favor. If you need a good laugh, if you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're down in the dumps, go to Google and Google married a ghost. You will not be disappointed because the story I told you was only one of many.
Oh my.
We forgot the 69 stories
Nice.
and we did our haunted tour of New York. So I think I need to smoke a little bit more, lay in bed and melt into my pillow and start dreaming of what I'm going to do for 70. Oh my God, 70.
So that's what you're going to do after our 69 episode, eh, Shell?
This weed made me too tired for anything but melting in bed.
Well,
Sorry,
I am
folks.
going to go smoke a little bit more of this weed and enjoy the rest of my night. I'm planning our itinerary because I am so ready to go camping and to get out this year. And why not meet up at some ghosty spots? So check out Airbnbs. They do have haunted sites up there, and I will put a link to the Enslin House if you are lucky enough to be in the Troy, New York area and would like to stay at a haunted location.
And also, I want to point out that even though on Facebook I follow Haunted History Trails of New York, there is haunted history trails of every state in the country. You could do haunted history trails of Massachusetts, haunted history trails of Pennsylvania. So, if you're looking for a place to check out, that might not be a bad place to start too.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us for episode
69.
Nice of the Stoned Witches Hour. Join us next week on Wednesday at 4:20 a.m. for episode 70, where we get up to even more spooky hijinks and smoke even better weed.
I'm going to go wrap up my night by 69 and with my pipe. So, gotta go.
Wow.
Gotta get high.
Stay high, stay spooky. We'll see you next week.